Thanks for joining us at Kitchen Table Roundhouse Round Kick Talk.
There we go.
Now, what I heard recently that I thought was pretty interesting was that they found AOC, the Young Turks, and a George Soros program through kind of like an American Idol audition set.
How about that?
Is that
Wow.
kind of remarkable, or are we surprised? I mean, I guess she has some visual presence. I guess that's all I hear
How
about
did
her.
they keep it a secret this long? Or how did we find this out?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I don't know. I think they get to keep secret whatever they'd like to keep secret, because the media is effectively the PR branch of the Democratic Party.
Right.
So you kind of only know, it's on a need-to-know basis. They don't think you need to know.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's a leak. I'm not actually sure. Has anyone heard about what happened, how this was...
Well,
No.
it's a New York City congressional seat, and evidently they found some token Democrat, because it was going to be a liberal,
Right.
because they were going to take on the primary, which I think was June 26th, was it? June 26th.
That was our
same
primary.
night as ours, yeah. And so out of nowhere, some chick bartender becomes a
The
congressman.
night of the long shanks. We lost a lot of good conservatives.
Yes.
June 26th. Knocked out.
And, so it made headline news, but what we didn't know at the time was there were powerful forces backing her very, very stealthily.
And it does make you, if you weren't already pretty cynical as a conservative, a little bit more cynical that someone that mentions 6 branches of government, Congress and the House of Representatives, as 2 separate things, Cortez, it kind of makes you cynical, say, this is the person that won, This clearly is not a contest of ideals or policy.
Correct. Well, as you've pointed out in the past, and as we see, it's not about principle. It's about catchphrases and things like that. Remember, Barack Obama was test marketing new phrases that were going to work with the electorate, and he'd get people in a room and he'd bring them in and say, "What about this phrase? What about that phrase?" And they did it all before they actually brought them out, and they heard what people wanted to hear, and that's what they put out.
He's a good-looking guy with a nice-sounding voice. That's the main thing.
So. But the point was, what do people want to hear?
Well, and look what happened. He went on a fast track. Right around the turn of the century, he makes his first run for the state legislature of Illinois.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars of George Soros money.
Yeah. And then he gets vaulted into this Illinois U.S. Senate seat.
Wins with millions of Soros dollars.
And somehow they found out a scandal on the Republican that was supposed to be a sealed divorce proceedings that, boy, you have to have people in the right places to dig up dirt like that.
They didn't dig up on him.
They did. And, the same way he ran in a seat that was, there were 2 other people in there, and he challenged both of the others and had him thrown off, so he didn't actually get elected.
He just walked in
by default through manipulating. You know what they say about lawyers? A lawyer in a briefcase can steal more than a dozen armed men, And you might say he stole that. That's how he got in there. And then he killed off the viability of the Republican in the U.S. Senate seat. And then, 4 years later, he's president.
I don't trust large groups of attorneys, and that's what we have in most of our bureaucratic agencies. They're just all attorneys.
Yeah.
I found that out recently. I had a run-in with one such agency, and I found out every single person I talked to that answered the phone or got coffee was an attorney.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that some of these attorneys couldn't answer the most basic legal questions or logical questions. What is it that you want? So what is required? They couldn't answer that question.
Now that we see how Miss Cortez became this cultural icon because she's photogenic and she does good on camera, and that makes me want to rethink how Beto Robert whatever O'Rourke, the Irishman, somehow becomes the spokesman for the Hispanics of South Texas.
I think you got Beto,
is it political science now is going to require you to learn how to be photogenic on TV and join the culture.
Well, that's what it's probably always been about. If people really understand the dynamics of influence, it's about packaging and marketing.
Yeah.
Well, go back to the 1960 presidential election. John F. Kennedy was roundly seen as the winner on the TV viewing audience.
Yeah.
But those that heard the debate roundly supported Richard Nixon.
Yeah, they thought.
And so it really came down to telegenics, and Nixon didn't have what Kennedy had. So here we are.